Fact and fiction. There's a lot of folks going around talking about the Common Core standards, fact and fiction. They're charging that the other side is full of myths and then fact checking everyone. Just this is the question you would think people would ask before they made a big change to standards, which is, do education standards have much effect on students? And the answer surprisingly seems to be no. So here's some examples and some evidence and research for that conclusion. If you look at our international competitors, the OECD countries, folks like, let's see here, France, the United Kingdom, Australia, Japan. So out of that batch of developed countries, 9 of the 10 lowest scoring countries in math and 8 of the lowest scoring countries in science have centralized education standards. So for them, they have centralized education standards, they have national education standards, and their kids don't perform very well on international tests. The same is true for 8 to 10 of the highest scoring countries. So in short, from looking at international comparisons, whether a country has national standards or not doesn't seem to have any effect on how the students perform. And now if you move to the United States and examine whether states that have high quality requirements for kids, high quality standards, and see if their kids learn more versus states who have low quality standards, do their kids learn less? The answer is there's basically no relationship between high standards and high scoring students or low standards and low scoring students. So there's a Brookings study that I've linked to in my notes here that says there's virtually no relationship between the quality of state education standards and the achievement test scores of students in the respective states. So what that basically means is a state can have really great standards and the students do really poorly on tests, or the state can have really terrible standards but the students perform very well. So according to this, there's basically no link between high standards and student achievement. So the question then is, if we're trying, the whole point of school is to teach children things, and standards don't seem to actually accomplish that, why would we have standards? Why would we, put so much time and effort into this giant change? Well, maybe for some of the changes that are coming about as a result of guess. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. Another important thing to think about in the standards and effectiveness is that the Common Core has never been field tested. Nobody ever tried it out, not one school district. So this is another important point when talking to folks, that nobody ever tried out the Common Core. So you would think that, and especially with folks who talk about that the Common Core is rigorous and field tested, and the simple question you would be is, where's your proof? There is no proof. And we will talk about that also. In fact, I'll slip in this right here. All of the academics on the Common Core's own what they called a validation committee, whose job it was to say, yes, we've checked all the research, we've seen that this is really solid and well put together. All of the academics on that panel said, we refuse to sign off on Common Core. They have given us no evidence that there is research supporting all of the things that they're changing or promoting, and there's no research that they have actually, as they promised, done what they call international benchmarking, which is compared the standards or have ratcheted them up to the levels of the best performing countries. No evidence. So this isn't just my assertion. This is the folks who actually know about standards, who that's their professional job, to check it out, and they said, we haven't seen the evidence, we can't sign our names to this. So the argument that folks still have that for saying that standards are really important is that, well, these goals for kids don't matter, but unless states follow through really well. So their goal is to say, well, this has never worked before, and we've never tried it out before, but we just know that if we do a really, really good job, that it's all going to work really great and actually really benefit kids. I cannot think of any other field where people take their pet projects and say, oh, I know how to fix everything. Here, let me create my little utopia. But the folks with Common Core got to actually inflict their utopian ideas on the whole country.